Warsaw, August 1944. The gunfire stopped, and that's when the screaming began.
Adolf Hitler and his henchmen plunged the world into one of the most destructive wars in history. Now, those Nazi leaders were waiting trial for crimes against humanity.
A city already broken by months of fighting now held its breath. The wounded stopped crying out. Fires crackled alone in the ruins, their glow trembling against shattered walls. People hiding underground stiffened in the dark, waiting for the familiar rhythm of German patrols to return. It never did. A different sound replaced it, uneven, chaotic, nothing like military movement. Doors slammed open above ground. A muffled scream cut off mid-breath. Glass shattered somewhere close. Heavy boots crashed through abandoned apartments without order or discipline. The noise spread through the neighborhood like an uncontrolled blaze. Whatever had come into the city wasn't here to capture ground or secure objectives. It moved as if it existed for destruction alone. Those hiding below whispered the same name, a name spoken in fear across the Eastern Front long before these men reached Warsaw. Dirlewanger. This wasn't another SS unit. This was the brigade built when the Nazi regime decided that terror itself could be a weapon, a formation drawn from the darkest corners of German prisons and commanded by a man whose reputation unsettled even extremists inside the Third Reich. To understand how such a force emerged, we must step back to the moment Germany began losing control of the East. In the summer of 1941, Operation Barbarossa tore open the Soviet frontier with brutal speed. German divisions swept across Belarus and Ukraine, confident they were watching the collapse of an entire nation. Towns fell in rapid succession. Railways and bridges were seized before defenders could regroup. Commanders in Berlin believed the war in the East was already on its way to victory. But behind that front, something else began to take shape. The forest swallowed soldiers who refused to surrender. Villagers carried messages, weapons, and food to those hiding beneath the trees. What formed inside the dense ancient woods wasn't a conventional army. It had no headquarters, no uniform, no fixed tactics. It struck when least expected and disappeared just as quickly. For the Wehrmacht, this was a nightmare. Supply convoys rolled into forests and never came out. Ammunition trains derailed without warning. Patrols vanished between the trees. Explosions tore apart critical infrastructure in areas thought to be secured. Attempts at retaliation often punished civilians who had nothing to do with the attacks, which only drove more people into the resistance. The forest became hostile territory, not because of the land, but because of the people who fought to reclaim it. Traditional military responses failed. Reprisals strengthened the resistance instead of crushing it. Commanders sent reports filled with frustration, demanding new approaches. Himmler believed he could provide one. Heinrich Himmler envisioned a unit unconstrained by military culture. Discipline wasn't the priority, brutality was. He wanted men who wouldn't hesitate, men capable of matching the partisans' unpredictability while exceeding their ruthlessness. To lead such a formation, he needed someone who didn't simply tolerate violence, but thrived in it. That man already existed inside the SS files, Oskar Dirlewanger. On paper, Dirlewanger looked respectable. He held decorations from World War I and possessed an academic background. Yet anyone who spent time around him recognized the instability beneath that surface. His behavior swung between cold calculation and explosive rage. He drifted through the violent political movements of the Weimar Republic as if drawn to chaos. His criminal record stretched across years: arrests, scandals, assaults. Other Nazis wanted him removed from their circles entirely, but Dirlewanger had something none of them did: a loyal, influential protector. Gottlob Berger, an early Nazi with immense pull inside the SS hierarchy, viewed Dirlewanger as a man shaped by conflict, someone whose destructive impulses could serve the Reich rather than threaten it. Berger pushed Himmler to restore Dirlewanger's status, arguing that war created roles for men who didn't fit into ordinary society. Himmler listened. He reinstated Dirlewanger and handed him command of an experimental anti-partisan unit. The first recruits came from prisons, poachers, chosen because Himmler believed they understood the woods better than regular soldiers. Their skills in tracking and killing seemed valuable for hunting partisans. But the war widened, casualties rose, and recruitment changed. Prison gates opened for thieves, arsonists, violent offenders, men who had been locked away because they threatened civilians inside Germany itself. Dirlewanger accepted all of them. He crafted a unit bound not by ideology or training, but by shared appetite for aggression. It became known as the Dirlewanger Brigade. Even within the SS, the name carried a shadow. Belarus felt the impact immediately. When the brigade entered villages suspected of supporting partisans, their actions went far beyond military necessity. Homes vanished in flames. Fields vital to survival were leveled. Civilians found themselves trapped between partisans, demanding loyalty, and soldiers willing to punish entire communities for acts they never committed. Survivors described operations that felt more like purges than warfare. Men who attempted to reason with the brigade were shot on sight. Elderly villagers who couldn't flee were beaten or left behind as their homes burned. Women and children faced the same fate as the men, no distinction, no mercy. German officers observing the unit sent back reports that read like warnings. They struggled to categorize what they were witnessing because it didn't resemble military procedure. It looked like something unleashed rather than deployed. Yet those same reports noted that resistance weakened where the brigade operated. Fear was doing what discipline could not. For Himmler, that result overshadowed every concern. Dirlewanger received promotions. His unit expanded. The brutality that disturbed other commanders became the reason he was valued. By 1944, the Eastern Front was collapsing. The Red Army surged forward, reclaiming land Germany had occupied for years. The Western Allies closed in from the opposite direction. The Third Reich faced encirclement. In Warsaw, a desperate hope ignited. The Polish Home Army rose against its occupiers, launching the Warsaw Uprising. Hitler wanted the city punished. Himmler wanted it erased. And for that task, he relied on Dirlewanger. When the brigade entered Warsaw, those hiding among the ruins sensed immediately that something unfamiliar had arrived. Civilians who had endured bombings and sniper fire for months now faced a level of chaos that didn't follow any recognizable pattern of warfare. Gunfire erupted without warning. People attempting to move between buildings were shot where they stood. Homes still sheltering families went up in flames. Those who tried to escape through alleys often met the same fate as those who remained inside. The destruction rolled across districts like a storm without direction. Even nearby German units recoiled at what they saw. One commander described the brigade as impossible to control. Another warned that they endangered their own allies. A third advised that coordinating with them was futile because their actions followed no tactical logic. But none of these warnings altered the orders. The uprising needed to be crushed, and Himmler believed Dirlewanger's presence ensured it would be. What unfolded in Warsaw became one of the war's defining horrors, and the brigade's reputation, already steeped in violence, sank into infamy. As Germany collapsed in early 1945, the brigade began to unravel. Supply shortages weakened them. Partisan forces, emboldened by the approaching Soviet armies, struck at every opportunity. Deserters slipped away into forests they had once terrorized. Dirlewanger pushed forward despite repeated injuries, convinced that survival would always favor him. He had walked through enough destruction to believe nothing could kill him, but the war ended differently. Captured as the Reich disintegrated, he died shortly afterward in custody. Official accounts blamed injuries suffered during imprisonment. Others claimed the guards recognized him and took justice into their own hands. The unit dissolved. Many members blended into the chaos of post-war Europe. A few were caught. Most faded into obscurity, carrying horrors with them that history would later uncover. Today, the Dirlewanger Brigade stands in a category of its own. Even within the SS, a structure engineered for oppression, terror, and extermination, this unit occupies a deeper layer of infamy. Its existence wasn't the result of ideology alone. It emerged from a deliberate choice to weaponize men who had already abandoned every moral restraint. Dirlewanger's brigade revealed something the Nazi regime rarely admitted. When a government elevates cruelty over discipline and unleashes broken men as instruments of policy, the result is not effective warfare. It is devastation without purpose. The brigade didn't change the war. It didn't win decisive battles. It didn't strengthen Germany's position. What it left behind were scars across entire regions, scars etched into forests, villages, and memories. A reminder that when a nation removes every rule that binds its soldiers to humanity, it doesn't create strength, it creates monsters.